Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Music Lab podcast. My name is Dogg, and I'm so excited to be back with all of you for another episode of the podcast. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, our social media pages. That helps us and helps the bands and artists like Lucid Dream. Also, check out our sponsor, RAR Outfitters. That's RAWR, outfitters.com. Don't just wear, RAR. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are so excited because we are going to be at the new Colossus Festival in a couple weeks in New York City. And Lucy Dreams is also going to be there playing for their first time in America. Welcome, Mr. David. How are you today?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very, very well. Thank you. How are you?
Other than the leg surgery, we're recovering. I'm getting over a cold. We're both battling stuff going on right now. Talk
Plenty
about
of
that. I
time
mean,
to
talk about
survive.
having the leg surgery during the holidays and just, with the album and everything else going on, like how that kind of impacted and, how you got through that.
Yeah, it was basically just a very, very, crazy accident. Holidays. So we were based in Vienna. I grew up on the countryside, um, and that's where I spent the holidays around Christmas. Went for a walk, fell, tried to sort of, you know, catch my balance, didn't manage, landed on my uh, right leg and broke it, just freaking broke it. So it was bad. It was, physically, not the best way to start the new year. On the other hand, I also had time to sort of in the hospital, and then afterwards recovering, I had time to reflect a lot. I had the impression that I was going much too fast with the project and in my life in general. So I had the time to pause and reflect a little. I was reading Martha Beck's Integrity. It's helped me through a lot of interesting decisions in my life. So if you manage to find the silver lining in such a bad situation, it definitely helps. But obviously, yes, you're right. There's better ways to start the year than with with a cast and on crutches.
It does seem though like life will sometimes give us like little lessons like that. And that seems like, from what you're telling me, that seems like it might have been a little lesson. You kind of
Yeah,
agree with that?
100%. And not to be too spiritual or esoteric, but I definitely believe in a higher power that sort of reminds us that number one connects us as one bigger conscience, and also something that reminds us, in this case told me, listen, you are going at a breaknecking speed with everything. Try to slow down. You can't, conquer the world in one day. Do it step by step. um, but those are, I would say, those are spheres, those are realms of mind that we're never going to be able to access as human beings. So there's something bigger, that sort of, I wouldn't refer to it as God, but there's a certain instance, something that is just beyond our imagination, beyond our comprehension. And if or if not, I just, take joy in believing that it sent some message, and I definitely accepted the message.
Yeah. So let's go back to your childhood. So as a musician who, kind of has a lot of these dreams and these ideas and, when did all of that kind of like come to fruition, or did that become more later as an adult?
Well, it was. I have to thank my parents here. So we have, I have three siblings, and then we have all received our fair share of musical education, which I'm incredibly grateful for. In my case, it was piano. So my dad sat down with us very regularly. I would say 2 or 3 times a week, and sort of, just practice the piano. And then once a week we had like I had piano lessons. And very, very early I realized that yes, it's like music is a way for the mind and the heart to manifest itself. So melodies and also different genres of music have always had a super fascinating impact on me. And I loved, playing the piano. At the age of 13, 14, when the boy started to become more of a grown up, it was skateboarding that took over the passion for the piano for 2, 3 summers, I would say. And then it was a pivotal moment, I would say. So that also, leads me back to the United States. I was watching together with friends. We were watching Nirvana's Unplugged in New York, and I was like, "Oh my God!" So this guy writes songs. I'm able to do that too, right? So I grabbed the guitar. My mom was a guitar teacher when she was younger. I grabbed the guitar. My mom taught me a couple of chords, and you know, just went from there. And the next interesting moment was when I asked my mom to, from Nirvana, you very quickly move into punk rock, and then start listening to, like in my case, I loved No Use for a Name. I loved NoFX in this case, and I just needed to have an electric guitar. That was at the age of 16, 17. And when I was giving the most recent vinyl to my mom, and I don't want to sort of talk too much about my parents here, but it was very pivotal in this area. When I gave the vinyl to my mom, I was like, "Thanks for buying me the electric guitar back then, because this started everything." And it was bands like Deftones that had such a big influence when I was younger. And I just, I was in my room, 16, 17, just playing along to My Own Summer, for example, learning the guitar, and then, started to write songs in my room. And then, the first bands and everything evolved from there. And also the first recordings happened in my sort of in my room in my parents' house. So yeah, the whole sort of surrounding, and then my wanting to break free, my wanting to identify myself through music was crucial in this context.
So I love to ask questions of musicians who are multi-instruments or multi-instrumentalists. So, the piano and the guitar, basically the two main instruments that songwriters, write songs. As someone who plays both, do you gravitate toward one or the other when you're in that songwriting mode?
It's very, very interesting question. So the first songs I wrote on the guitar. So I have the chords, 3, 4 chords, and you sort of strum along. And then, so when we write, I mean, this leads us into a different direction, because the basis for songwriting Lucy Dreams is Lucy, our artificial band member, the machine. But when we then try to find some, chord progressions and so on, it's more the guitar, because this is what I taught to myself more naturally, if that makes sense. And I sort of by intuition, it's I can think of chords. So when I think of a chord, I put it down on a guitar much more easily than on the piano.
Okay, interesting. And do you feel like that has progressed as you've gotten older, or that's always kind of stayed the same?
It always declines when you're getting older, right? But the fundament is definitely there, and I'm confident in both instruments. It's just sometimes you play something on the piano, and it also sort of resonates a lot. But if you tell me, listen, write a song, I'll say, yeah, give me a guitar, please.
Yeah. I think from a live setting too, that, like playing guitar has a little bit more impact, especially if you're the lead singer than if you have a piano, and, especially with a band. If it's just you and a piano, it's a little bit different impact. Is it
Yeah,
fair to say?
definitely. I would agree. I would absolutely agree.
Yeah.
But in our case, we have a very performative live show. A piano wouldn't really make sense here.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to talk about like a little bit the differences maybe between in Austria compared to America. You were talking about how, growing up as a child, like, in this country, I feel like, especially in the last 10 years, especially elementary school, like, like kindergarten up to like sixth grade, there's been a lot of pushback on eliminating music in schools. Is music real promoted in your country, like for children, or is it kind of on the back burner as well?
Let me start out by saying that I believe that music is one of the most important ways for human beings to express themselves. The first sound we hear in our mother's womb is her heartbeat, right? So this is crucial in our sort of identity. And having the ability to express oneself through music, be it s- percussive or melodic, is something super exciting. And I would say yes. In Austria, we do have a very good system of music being implemented in the standard curricula. So up until the age of, I don't know, 17, 18, you are exposed to music and theory at least once a week. So it could obviously be more, but there is a decent amount of exposure to music.
Yeah, that's well,
I
that's
can only
good to
speak
hear.
for Austria, though. I'm
Yeah,
not familiar with the surrounding countries.
right. So let's talk about coming to America. I mean, like you said, 2 weeks from now. We're going to spend a couple days beforehand, but like, you know, obviously it hasn't happened yet, but like, how do you kind of prepare yourself mentally? Because this is a huge deal going, playing this festival that's going to be,
Mhm.
thousands of people, hundreds of bands. Talk about your mindset coming into this.
This leads me back to our initial discussion about integrity and sort of really coming back to oneself. Half a year ago, I would have sort of stressed my. Can you swear on this podcast?
Absolutely.
I would have stressed my ass off. Not swear, but use sort of, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I would have really sort of, just made up my mind far too much. Right now, I'm doing the necessary amount of planning and structuring and getting in touch with people, but also doing the right amount of just looking forward to being in the States with music for the first time, meeting so many inspiring fellow artists, playing 3 shows. So it's a big deal is really looking forward to touching base in the US for the first time. We've been to Canada 2 years ago for 10 shows. Not to compare Canada and the States too much, but you get a pretty good idea of how touring in the States must be like when you play 10 shows in Canada. This is what we did. Now we're only in New York City, but with the festival and it's historic sort of it's history. It's a super exciting perspective, and everything is organized, everything is set, and now we're really looking forward to being there and breathing the New York City air, breathing you know I mean it's New York City after all. Like it's one of the most looked up to cities, one of the most inspiring places on the planet, right? And being there with our music is um, very exciting and a great adventure.
I guess too with this concept that you're bringing, I mean, it does kind of give this extra level of, I don't, maybe anticipation, or like, do you feel that too, like being on that side of it?
Um, So there were a couple of instances when you start to realize the sort of the effect something has on in this case on me. Um, and one case was when I received a mail from the team of New Colossus. Like they are amazing. Like the festival itself is a fantastic festival from what I've heard, and what I can already tell is communication with the festival team and the organizers has been really, really great and professional and friendly and cool and everything. And there was one moment and one mail they sent us. It was just like a final line where one of the organizers wrote, there is so much excitement about you guys coming over. And this is when I realized, okay, people are really looking forward to sort of having lucid dreams in the United States for the very first time. And it's just great to, I mean, also the what we are doing right now, right? This transatlantic
Yeah.
sort of communication. It's just too exciting. So also shout out to you. Thanks for the opportunity and thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is going to be my first time at the festival covering it. I'm ashamed to say that, I only live about 2.5 hours, 3 hours from New York City, but, it's been probably since before the pandemic that since I've been there.
Mm,
And that's just, I do a lot of time in Philly. I do a lot of time in Baltimore, DC. It's just New York, for whatever
yeah.
reason, it's just, I don't know. So,
Where are you based exactly?
in Pennsylvania, I'm about an hour and a half west of Philadelphia, about an hour and a half north of Baltimore. So we're in a
Got it.
real good spot, especially for
Yeah,
airports.
yeah. There is something fascinating in the United States for Europeans. Like, as I said, you grow up watching American TV, like Malcolm in the Middle, for example, right? This is something that you're just so familiar with the American culture, with the American lifestyle. And then at the age of 15, 16, when you really start to realize what culture actually is, and you start to listen to, in my case, it was all the new metal bands of the era. And you also hear interviews with your idols, and you realize, okay, they are American. They are part of a super fascinating culture where everything is possible, where you can go from rags to riches. You can sort of it's probably hard to make it, but if you really put a lot of effort, you can actually make it. And the endless possibilities. And when you then, as a European, when you first get there, this is, I don't know if you realize that, but it's a very, very exciting thing to do. And a couple of years ago, we did a road trip, and we crossed exactly the territory you live in. We landed in New York City, and then went down to, DC and Philly, and then further on to um, towards Tennessee, Nashville, and New Orleans, and we did like a massive, massive road trip, and it was so exciting to be in the States for the very first time for me. So I can understand the fascination people have for this part of the world, and a little bit I envy you for living there directly.
Well, as all of my close friends know, I have never been to Europe, and I claim, and I will stand on this, this rock until I die, that I know that once I go there, I won't want to come back.
Mm.
And that's why I've not done it, because it
Yeah,
just the culture, the lifestyle, the history, the food, like just all of that, just is just so enticing and just is right up my alley that
yeah,
I
interesting.
lack in this country.
Yeah, let's swap for a year, and then let's see how how things turn out.
So I mean, yeah, I mean, like do the obviously you talk a lot of people like in our country when we first hear about Europe, we immediately think about the high speed trains and like the ease of getting around like Europe. Like, Talk about that. Is it that easy, or is there like challenges?
Yeah, it's fantastic. The public transport is really really great. Also affordable. The Austrian government, Green Party, has just introduced like 2 3 years ago, a fantastic project. It's called Klimaticket. Translates to climate ticket. No, sorry, climate. The ticket you get for, obviously, yeah, the not the ticket you get for speeding, but the ticket you have for the train. So the
Yeah.
climate ticket, where you pay a little more than $1,000, and you can use all public transport in Austria for a year. So a really really great project, and people like it. People use public transport. It is efficient. It is really convenient. Also, like when we are around, we very often, it's just the two of us. We very often also take the train because or in February, for example, we played in Leipzig in Germany, and it is, yes, a 7 hour train ride, but we rather go 7 hours by train than sort of 6 hours by car, and have all the hustle that comes with driving a car. With a train, you just get on. You can do like an office day on the train, and then you get off at your destination. This was only beaten by our experience in Japan. This past summer, we've played 7 shows in Japan, across the country, and we were like, okay, no, impossible to. But yes, with the high-speed trains over there, it's possible. So shout out to Japanese train system, Shinkansen, and it's definitely something that I'm proud to have in my parts of the world. There's also things that I'm not too proud of, but in this case, yes, like public transport is something that works.
What was it like playing in Japan? I mean, what were the crowds like? I mean, just talk about like that experience because that's just
I
amazing.
don't remember. I don't remember. It was just too too much intake, too much to process. It's just an incredible parallel universe. It has changed over the last years, so I think it has become westernized. But it's still, a cosm of its own, and especially in the um, music industry, or the music, sort of the culture, the music ecosystem. It's very very unique in and of its own. We have perfectly like equipped venues, like the sound and the light system in the venues. It's ridiculous. The technicians are beyond, like with the in-ear monitoring. You just we plug in, and the in-ear monitoring every single time was just spot on. I don't know how they did it. Like there was just not even the slightest request of, hey, can I have the backing track a little louder? Nothing. Like it was always spot on. Same with lights. So the light technicians, they were like, it was as if we would have our own light technicians with us, right? You have a drop in a song, and exactly with a drop, the light or the strobe kicks in. Like this was super, super exciting. And also the interaction with with the audience was amazing. It was so different than everywhere else. Like in Canada, for example, people came up to us and said, it's so exciting what you do because we don't get this kind of music a lot over here. So I think people appreciate, the us moving at the intersection of rock, pop, and electronic style. We call ourselves SonicWaveArtPop. I think this is what people in Canada appreciated. In Japan, people came up to us and said, listen, Lucy, who is Lucy? And they wanted to sort of, the visual representation of Lucy is a light ball that we carry with us. and we also bring with us on stage, and we carry it in a wooden box. And people came up to us wanting to have a look into the wooden box and wanting to see what Lucy is and how she looks like and what she does. So we spoke a lot about that. And so apparently people attribute a lot of soul to things and items. So we seem to have hit a sweet spot for the Japanese here. But I can only recommend visiting Japan. It's super exciting country.
Yeah. So let's talk about the concept. Like, I mean, we've kind of teased it. We've kind of like, let's talk about the concept of this album. It's called VVVV, five V's, and each bracket, I guess, of the V represents a song. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely, that's exactly it.
So yeah, I mean, just give everybody like the background on this, the history, like the inspiration, so we kind of really know the full story.
At the moment, I have the impression that humanity is experiencing a seismic shift. So we are facing a development that is, beyond comprehension, and it is the integration of technology into our existence, into us as human beings. And we like to refer to this shift as the fifth dimension. So we have the known three dimensions plus time, and now we are ready for the fifth dimension. We are ready for the integration of technology our in our existence, as I said, in our sort of fabric as human beings. And the fifth dimension is represented in this album. We wanted to write the soundtrack to this to this to this leap, to this quantum shift, and that's why we called it VVVVV. So V is being represented, so the five is being represented in the V, and then we said we have 10 tracks, each track representing one. How did you call them?
Bracket.
One
Yeah.
bracket of,
Yeah.
of the V's. So every song has its own bracket, and the journey for the listener in the best case is from the song "You" as in Universalism, the intro track, where we are exposed to the sheer infinite cosm of space, but also in the virtual space we also have like unlimited and infinite possibilities. So this is what we are looking at, and the album guides you through this transformation, arriving at one very, very important point at the end of the album with the song "Be Here Now." And this is a call for human beings to remain human no matter the development, no matter the progress that we're experiencing. So be in the moment, be here now, be human, but appreciate the technological process. And maybe one footnote here. We don't only see music as a means to express ourselves, but we also want to inspire people to, with this album, to actively participate in the evolution of technology. And we want to inspire people to realize that at the moment we are creating the future that our kids and children's children will live in. And we have now the possibility to shape the future. Like no generation has ever had that much options in how we are able to shape the future. So we advocate for a world in which people actively participate in shaping the future. And we say that the future And thus the technology that is used in the future needs to be peaceful, needs to be sustainable, and needs to be inclusive. And every single person on the planet has the possibility to influence technology in a way that the future is sustainable, peaceful, and inclusive. So this is what we want to, um, you know, what we want to provide with the album.
Yeah. And it's great too because like I like that, it's definitely a headphones album for me. I like to listen to, because there's a lot that you miss if you don't hear it like on headphones. But I like that it's futuristic, but it's not like futuristic to a point where it's like not approachable. Does that make sense?
100%. And if you meet at the right sort of intersection of futuristic, progressive, but still accessible, then yeah, you just gave us a great compliment. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course, of course. So then how does this all then come about in the light show or in the live show? Talk about the live show then.
Has been evolving over the years, and it's been super exciting to see also ourselves evolve in this. People very often use the word unique for our live shows, which I appreciate because this is what gets people to our shows, and not only through our album but also through our shows we want to inspire people to participate in the evolution of technology and the positive development of our society. So we want to inspire people and we want to set the stage right away, and I don't want to give away too much, but Lucy is a fundamental part of the live show also. She is with us on stage in a visual representation. So it's not the machine that we work with in the studio, but it's a light ball that sits at the center of the stage and does the introduction, does, the communication throughout the set. I don't say, like, I as a singer, I break the fourth wall only twice. I speak to the audience only twice, during the very first song and during the very last song.
Okay.
The moderation between the songs is taken over by Lucy. And what we want to create on stage is the space beyond reality. A space in which people can escape reality for an hour, lose themselves in a positive way to maybe come up with new ideas, new emotions, new feelings, and eventually leave the venue with what the Greeks would call the catharsis. So sort of like a feeling of being inspired, and maybe the next day at work they then sort of sit down and talk to their colleagues at work that maybe after all the breaknecking speed of technological development isn't that bad after all. So this is how a Lucid Dreams show looks like. This is what we want to achieve with a Lucid Dreams show.
So obviously, it sucks that there's this, intersection between art and commerce, right? We're trying to sell a product, but also like it's art, and as a musician, that's such always you're clashing, how do you kind of reconcile with that?
Um, Next, really, really inspiring question. So shout out to you at this point. It's been very interesting to me to dive into this philosophy, to dive into um, this question as well, especially in the last couple of years when close friends of mine were very successful with their companies, right? So we have a lot of interesting startups here in Vienna that are, operating on a global scale, and through those friends, and we very often go for a run together, and talking to them or just hearing them talk about their startups has been a very inspiring thing, and made me realize that also a band has to be seen as a startup in the beginning. You have to make sure that you see music obviously as an art form, but at the same time as a product. And in my opinion, those two are not mutually exclusive. You have to approach people in a certain way. You have to market your stuff, because what's the worth in something? You can't invest a couple of grand for an album, and then not invest the same amount in marketing, because nobody's going to. I mean, there are exceptions, right? There are exceptions, but more often than not, you have to market something to get it into the ears and hearts of people. I've come to sort of really like the fact to see the band as like a small company, with a couple of products you have, with the industry that you are part of, with the colleagues that you like interacting with. It's just natural, right? Like punk rock, yes, I appreciate the existence, but I think also punk rock bands need to market their music if they want to sort of reach more people.
Yeah, you can't have this attitude of too cool for school. Like you have to kind of play the game as much as you don't want to. You're. I always like this line, like it's only a good song if somebody listens to it.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. I would partly agree. If you write a song, it depends what you want to achieve with the song, right? If you know that you are writing just to get your feelings out, and you write your songs for like your song for you, or maybe for you and your partner, it still can be a fantastic song. And to be honest, very often, if you don't have the commodity, the fact that the song will be listened to by a lot of people. If you don't have that in mind, very often the quality of the music increases even, right? Because you're completely free. You're not constrained by um, the expectations of the world out there.
Mm.
But yeah, good songs. We'll never find out what a good song is. After all, it's always it's always individual. The only song where you can really say, like without a doubt, that it's a good song is "Life on Mars" by David Bowie. Like there's just no two sides to that. But other than that, it's very individual.
Yeah. So I want to talk about the music scene in Vienna itself. Talk about that. Are there a lot of music venues, or do they, is original music kind of promoted, or is it a lot of cover bands? Like, talk about the music scene.
Yeah, I would say we have a lot of original music here in Vienna. We have obviously um, a couple of huge artists coming from Vienna. I'm thinking of Kruder and Dorfmeister, K&D sessions like Downtempo, superstars worldwide. Um, I'm thinking of Falco, obviously. My big inspiration, obviously, especially with him being Viennese.
Mhm.
I'm thinking also of more modern pop bands. They really fill arenas, like Austrian bands at home filling arenas. It wasn't always the case, and I have the impression that people more and more start to realize that homegrown music is is also relevant and is also interesting, but the local media, so national media, still have um, has to catch up. Like the support we are getting is limited. The airplay we're getting is, it's yeah. Let's leave it at that.
Mm,
The scene itself is very, very vibrant, and we have a couple of great venues here with, modern tech, with great light systems, and the only thing that's missing is good medium-sized venues, thinking of 2, 3 thousand
sure.
capacity. We don't really have these, so very often bands like mid-sized bands, they very often don't stop in Vienna.
Okay.
Um, we have one, but that's just the worst sound that you can imagine. I've seen my big heroes. I mentioned them. I've seen Deftones there, and it was it was torturous
Yeah.
to hear music like that, to hear music you love in a setting like that. So I decided not to go there anymore because it's just. But let's think a bit more outside of Vienna. Also for us, we live here, we work here, but we work from here. So we try to be try to position the project as international as
Yeah.
possible. With a tour in Japan, with a tour in Canada, we have shows coming up in New York City, obviously, which is just beyond exciting, but also in Scandinavia, in Copenhagen, and Gothenburg, in London. It's the fifth time in England for us, and Paris. So we try to sort of really leave the nest as much as possible.
Yeah. So I know in our country, it seems to be a lot of people under 30 are not drinking alcohol as much, and that it's more like pills and marijuana. Like, are you kind of seeing that in Austria as well, or is that not really the trend?
A friend of mine opened a club a couple of years ago, and this is how I got into electronic music a little. Like until that, it was mostly, metal, rock and roll, indie, that kind of music. But when he, with three others, opened this club, it was a decent club, 800 cap. Um, I really started to appreciate electronic music, techno, melodic tech, house, and also incorporated it in my work as a musician. Can definitely be heard also in Lucid Dreams music. And when it comes to nightlife in Vienna, you're exposed also to obviously, yes, the stuff you mentioned. It is something one can experience, but doesn't necessarily have to. It has good sides. It has bad sides. People, um, some people have fun with it. Others don't. I would say, no. Like Vienna is no big exception here.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to talk about this XA Export Award that you guys got. What is it? What's the history behind it? What's the circumstances? Yeah.
Fantastic moment in our career, and you really did your homework. Like this has been this has been 2 years ago, and it has opened a lot of doors for us. So thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah.
Um, it was awarded as part of the Waves Vienna Festival, showcase festival, basically the new Colossus of Vienna. And three instances, so the festival, a magazine, and the radio station nominated a short list of Austrian acts performing at the festival.
Okay.
And we were part of the shortlist, and then an international jury consisting of for example, Oscar Strijn, the booker at Eurosonic in Netherlands, and four or five others. They went to see all the five shortlisted bands' shows, and eventually awarded the XA award to Lucid Dreams, which was an immense honor. And we really make sure to represent Austrian music and pop culture abroad in the best way possible. We've played a lot in all over Europe last year, and just wanted to make sure that we represent Austria and this award in the best way possible. The reason for the why this award was given to us was that um, the show was so unique. The show was so outstanding, and the show was so different than everybody else's. I don't want to say too much because this is for others to sort of to elaborate on. But I think people appreciated the characteristic and the unique approach that we have in our live show, focused on an immersive experience with Lucy being the narrator, and seeing a live show more as a performance than a concert. And yeah, this is what the award was given to, I think. And during the ceremony, there was a video taken from two persons, and announcing the winner. And when I first saw this video, it was the evening of the actual award ceremony. I saw it. It was heartwarming, and it has been a constant companion ever since. So every time I have the impression that the industry is just too tough. It's just too much work to do. It's when I think, or when something bad happens, like I don't know, a colleague not being a colleague but an asshole, or sort of a company that you pay a lot for to do digital marketing, and they screw up completely, throwing your money out of the window. When you are in moments like that, or when I am in moments like that, I go back to this clip. It's just a 20-second clip of the announcement, and it always fills me up with so much joy and motivation that it's very often the fuel for the road ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we all need that, right? I mean, no matter what situation, you need something to be able to fall back on, whether it's a video, it's a memory. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
that's awesome.
absolutely.
So my last question for you is on your, I think it was on the press kit. Th you spoke about how this album stands as a reminder that the future is not something that merely happens to us. It is something we actively help shape. Such a powerful statement. Did you come up with that statement?
Over the course of a couple of months, yes. So we have this sort of like a mood, not a mood board, but a board where Stefan and me, we exchange ideas. And we just wanted to have one powerful line, and we kept sort of changing it a million times until we came up with what you just read. So Stefan and me, together over the course of a couple of months, came up with it. Yeah.
So talk about your connection. Like, how did you and Stefan then come together, like to form this?
Um, Interesting story. So we were both musicians in another band. Decided to leave the band together because of sort of internal conflicts, and then just ended up fooling around in the studio. And through this fooling around in the studio, we created Lucy. And the creation of Lucy, which is basically a system of analog effects, has been such a pivotal moment for us in our creative partnership that we just
Sure.
had to form a new band, and we had to, um, we had to create this. I don't know how to call it, this system that
Mhm.
is Lucy Dreams, and it's been great fun, and super excited to see what the future holds.
Yeah. Well, we can't wait to see you in a couple weeks in New York City, my friend. It'll be nice to finally meet you in person, and best of luck. Safe travels over.
Thank you so much. Thanks again for having me. It's been the first time to really do this, long form
Yeah.
interview
Outlet. Sure.
content. It's exciting. You really get to dive into your own thoughts, right? Usually you have like these snap phrases that you answer, but with you and your questions, it's been exciting. So thanks for having me on, and I'm also really looking forward to meeting you in person, to performing in New York City, and to all your listeners, if you're around New York City, come by. The festival doesn't only sell festival tickets, but also tickets to individual shows.
Mhm.
So it's $20 only, and yeah, we promise the space beyond reality.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, and best luck, my friend.
You too.
Ladies and
Bye.
gentlemen, absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, our social media pages. That helps us and helps the bands and artists like Lucy Dream. Also, check out our sponsor, RAR Outfitters. That's RAWR, outfitters.com. Don't just wear, RAR. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Dog. You've been great. This is the Music Lab podcast.